there is not just the face of the man, but there's another picture within the face. So a whole bunch of information you've been gathering just in these very few minutes, even seconds. And it's just an opportunity for us to see how quickly our mind does work almost on overdrive when we're using our eyes to look at the world and look at others in a physical way. So you've already made some sense of this picture. You've processed the information and your mind has been working very, very quickly. So we're going to see how this model, in the English language, we have so many synonyms for seeing. And you can see at the bottom, those are just a few. There are actually more, but we use these words all the time, every day, in place of the word see. So perceive, view, watch, observe. And then interestingly, we also have words that are more refined with what we see. So those kind of words are notice and distinguish, even discern and determine. And then we use the word I see to mean I understand or I know. So let's just do an example for fun. Let's imagine that we're all at an aquarium. And Judy yells to the group, "Look at those beautiful fish. Let's all go and look at those fish." And we all go racing over to a fish tank and we look at the fish and we're very excited by these beautiful fish. And then Terry says, "Look, I notice they're not all the same. I can see little flickers of blue in one fish and I can see a little color of red in another fish." And she is making these distinguishing assessments from what she sees. And then she may determine, aha, I think they're all must be tropical fish. And then perhaps one of the staff at the aquarium are overhearing us and she wanders over and she says, "Yes, you're right. These are all tropical fish in this fish tank. But they're actually different species." And we all nod at her and we say, "I see," to mean I understand. I understand what I see. So this is an example of physically looking at the material world and understanding. And this evening, what we're going to do is look at ourselves through our spiritual lens and also see to understand. So as we all know, we live in a world that's inundated with sensory stimulation. So you step out your door, and actually now we've got inside our homes, of course, with so much technology that we're inundated constantly with things around us that are vying for our sensory attention, and most noticeably the sense of sight. And it's so much and it's so fast, this sensory attraction, that it actually can be distorting for us. So this image is really almost an exaggeration of how dizzy this can make us. We can't even know where to look anymore because there's so much that catches our attention. There's so much that distracts us. And there's so much glitter and glam that we're almost just confused by even where to focus, where to look, where to perceive. And then, of course, we all know that the whole world of advertising capitalizes on this and sends these images to our eyes that we take in, that sells commodities through these images. And of course, we use this term in our meditation center of body consciousness. So in this body conscious world, these images are often giving us information that the body is of great value, and we can use the body to sell products. And we see this over and over and over again. All around us, we have the same messaging coming in to our minds through the physical eyes, that we are bodies, bodies sell products, commodities, and this is what is of value to our life. This is the messaging that we receive. So tonight, we're going to give our physical eyes a rest, and we're going to have an opportunity to use our spiritual eyes. We're going to use our spiritual eyes to really see ourselves first as these beings of pure spiritual light. So before we really commit to seeing others this way, it's best if we have a very good understanding through seeing of our own self. So sometimes this idea of us being beings of spiritual light can be a little bit abstract. So these are just 3 images that people do use, and this is just an experimentation. You can certainly use one of these this evening if you would like. But we often think of ourselves as a light, perhaps as a flame. And this image is effective because we can think of a burning flame that never extinguishes. So the soul never dies, never extinguishes. It always remains who we are. So if that's helpful, certainly use the image of a flame. We can also use the image of a laser light. And a laser light is extremely powerful and efficient because it's so condensed, so focused, so concentrated. And the reason why it's so efficient is all the wavelengths are actually the same length. And we can see, and we know that the medical profession now is using laser light in a lot of different treatments. So maybe you want to think of yourself tonight as a spiritual laser light. Or perhaps a lighthouse. And of course, in Nova Scotia, we have so many lighthouses around us. And a lighthouse is a big, bright, beaming light. And its purpose is to protect and to guide, to support. So that might be an image you want to experiment with as well. The flame, the laser light, or the lighthouse. So we're going to dive into this light that is what we are, who we are. And we're going to look at the intrinsic qualities of the being of pure spiritual light, the soul. Some people like to call the spirit. And we have 5 qualities that are intrinsic and original to the soul. And these qualities you may have heard before. You may have experimented with them. They are peace, purity, love, contentment, and power. And the reason we see power here is a little separate, because power is actually this beautiful merging of all the other four. When they're in complete balance, we have this power that emerges in the soul. So that's how we're going to use it tonight as well. So I'm going to ask you to imagine back in your high school days, maybe in your biology classes, when we had to do labs. And we did learn that there's a particular method that we should be very conscious of when we're looking, when we're examining, when we're perceiving anything in the lab. And this method that we've all been taught is that we just observe. We don't observe with a mind that's critiquing, or a mind that's judging, or a mind that's analyzing what we see, but we simply observe what we see in a totally unbiased way. So that's what I'm going to ask us to do tonight. We're going to see ourselves in this way, as a scientist would. And as a scientist has been trained, and as we also have learned, that we can see clearly without any commentary, any narrative, simply just observing. So in our spiritual lab, we are going to use a microscope. The reason that we're going to use this microscope, a microscope magnifies. We may need to magnify some of these qualities of the self. And when we magnify, they immediately come up through any of those filters or layers that we may feel have clouded or perhaps covered some of these qualities of the soul. So we are going to use this imaginary spiritual microscope. And you can see from the picture here that there's a dial that we have access to, the right-hand side, which says coarse focus or fine focus. So I'm going to ask you, if you ever look through your microscope and can't see that quality as clearly as you'd like, simply use that dial to make it a little more refined, a little clearer for you. So that is available to us at any time when we feel like, I'm not seeing that quality as clearly as I would like to. All right, so I'd just like to, at this point, read a very short excerpt from Daddy Janki's book, Spiritual Greatness. And it's just going to, I think, set the stage for this activity. So, Daddy Janki writes, "We are divine beings, even though we may no longer be accustomed to thinking of ourselves in this way. The purpose of good spiritual practice is to allow this divinity to re-emerge within our personality. When we think that we are simply bringing out something that is already there, rather than forcing ourselves to adopt new behaviors, the process of self-transformation becomes easier." So we are just going to re-emerge all that is within our personalities, our true self, and look at it with a very objective perspective. So we're going to step into the lab now. We're going to leave the world behind, and we're going to take on that scientific model of just observing. So if you could pick up your chart and under number 1, where you wrote the number 1, you're going to write peace. And that's our first slide that we're putting under the microscope. The slide of peace. And what I'd like to do is just read you a description of peace. And when I'm finished, I'd like you then to take that peace slide and put it under the microscope and just very quietly go within and see the peace within. And then I'd like you to make a note, or perhaps you'd like to draw. But under the column that says what I see, it may be a feeling, maybe an experience. I'd like you just to write exactly what you saw, or draw exactly what you saw in a very unbiased way. And then, again, remembering that I see means I understand, I know. In the second column, I'd like you to write what you know from the experience of seeing through that microscope into your own being and looking at this quality of peace. All right, so here we go. I'm going to just read it, and then that's just a way to kind of let your being just absorb the words, and then we'll look down the microscope lens. Peace. The energy of thought, so often dissipated by expression through the senses, has been directed and nourished deep within my mind. My quickly moving thoughts and emotions have cooled and calmed. Awash with the constant frequency of serenity, I am unaffected and unburdened by the past or future, and so am free to experience the true essence of my own being now. The stillness at the core of my being keeps me balanced and stable and acts as a constant reminder of who I truly am. I reach out to the world from a place of quietness and trust, offering gifts of kindness and comfort. With peace at my core, I spread waves of hope and light to the world. So now I invite you to look through the microscope at peace within you, this intrinsic quality that is you, and just observe it, just see it, and write or draw what you see, and then what you understand from what you see. We'll just be in silence for a few minutes to do this. Okay, we're going to now take the peace slide away from the microscope lens, and we're going to look at the quality of purity. So if you could write purity, please, in your number 2 slot. And again, just listen to the words. Let them just really just go deep into letting these words just be absorbed into your soul. Let them really just move through you. They're written as affirmations, and so that's helpful for us to really take them in. Purity. I stand in the timeless sacred place within me. My mind, intellect, and heart are all transparent and clean, for I am true to the best that is in me and have gently let go of everything less. Having finished with any trace of waste or negativity, my mind only knows pure and positive thoughts, and my heart only knows pure and unconditional love. I see and value the beauty in myself and in every soul. I give to everyone and everything all that is true and pure in me. I share with the world with open hands and an open heart. I am alive with the beauty of living my fullest spiritual potential. So let's put the purity slide under that microscope. Remember, if we need to access that dial, just to bring a little more clarity into our vision, we can. And again, just observe purity in the self. Make any notes or draw anything that you see. And when you're finished with your purity slide, you can take it off the microscope. We're going to move to the quality of love. Love is the third quality that we'll look at, so it goes under number 3. And again, just listening with an open mind and open heart to these words about love. I accept myself and others exactly as they are and in every given moment. I am grateful for the richness that different opinions and perspectives bring to my life, and therefore remain calm and contented in all situations. My mind is free of thoughts of wanting to change anyone in any way. Instead, I focus on recognizing and embracing the beauty in every soul. I let time and all the natural energies around me move at their own pace. My heart stays light and full. I share my inner treasures with the world around me. We are now going to look at love, that pure love that lies at the heart of ourselves. So look down through the lens of the microscope, looking within at your love. What do you see? What do you understand from what you see? We're going to remove love now, keeping our attention on the ability to just see, even if doubts or negative thoughts should arise in the mind. We're not giving them attention. We're really focused. We're really focused on seeing these clearly within ourselves. They are there, they exist, we just need to see them. We're going to now observe contentment. You could write contentment. And we'll put contentment on the microscope. Use our spiritual lens, our spiritual eyes to look deep at this state of contentment. Contentment. I am deeply content with who I am, so easily see life's beauty. I remain unaffected in the midst of life's constant change, maintaining awareness of the value of this and all of my other intrinsic qualities. Nothing disturbs my constantly positive and powerful state of mind and my giving, radiant heart. I enjoy every scene of my life and every lesson that life offers me. My contented state of being serves humanity and the natural world. Let's look clearly at the quality of contentment. What do you see? What do you know? We can remove contentment. We're going to now examine power. First listen and then look. I support myself and others by believing in the quiet, insistent force that lies within me. I step forward into life with confidence, knowing the fullness of who I am and the inherent goodness of myself and others. I keep a firm, clear vision of each one's goodness and specialities. I am unshakable in the knowledge, belief, and faith of who I am and what I am here to do. My thoughts, words, and actions are only pure and positive, and therefore bring benefit to all. All my soul's intrinsic qualities are merged into an integrated whole. I face all of life's scenes with equanimity. I am a master of the self. So for power, if you could put back on your peace slide, then your purity slide, then your love slide, and then your contentment slide. And look down through the microscope at all of these four and see them all as one whole, working together in unison. And then write or draw what you see as your power. Okay, I hope you had enough time to really see those qualities clearly in yourself and to come to an understanding, a knowing from what you saw. So we're going to step out of our spiritual lab. We'll leave the slides in the microscope just where we left them on the table. And we'll step out of our lab. We'll take off our lab coat. We'll bring our chart with us so we can refer to it. And we're just going to have a few minutes now, maybe 12 minutes, to share your chart with 2 other people in your